Welcome to the Beaver Sports Radio Show. My name is Mitchell Monge, joined here by Soren Carr to discuss everything OSU sports related. But first, Soren, how's your Wednesday going?
Wednesday's going great. Got a little bit of that sunny disposition here with this Corvallis fall and kind of turning into winter weather, but doing great. How about yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. We got a lot of sports coming up. I mean, we had Washington here in Corvallis last Friday night, a little Pac-12 after dark action, of course. Not a lot of stuff going for the Beavers. And then football is facing Arizona State here at home Saturday. That'll be 4:30 on Fox Sports 1. Men's basketball was in action this week. And Soren, for all the OSU sports, you got your updates?
We got some updates this week for sure. Men's basketball, the season has finally tipped off, long awaited, as they played Oklahoma at the Moda Center last night, falling 77-69, showing a lack of offense in both football and basketball. The team is at 2-1 though, after a legitimate win hosting Iowa State, who actually won the Big 12 tournament last year,
that's a good one,
dethroning Kansas's 13-year run. And they beat Cal State Northridge with Tinkle looking good. Tinkle doing Tinkle things. The team runs some solid formations, pretty balanced attack, I'd say, but just need to get the ball in the hoop.
Yeah, I think a little bit has to do with Ethan Thompson. Yeah. Looks a little bit stagnant out there, still trying to get into his rhythm. Zach Reichel's been a really big improvement from last year to this year, the junior from Wilsonville.
Been waiting for that. Excited for it.
You got him and Trace out there on the three-point line, two deadly lefty shots, and then of course inside it was Kyler Kelly leading the way defensively.
He run.
He runs the floor. You'd like to see the Beavers reward him a little bit more.
Yeah.
Feed the big man in transition. I think they did it one time in the second half, but
he's got some nice post moves.
Yeah.
Surprising. Even from last year, like the development there is pretty impressive.
Yeah, Kyler Kelly's probably taken one of the biggest jumps from last season to where we see him this season. And even before that, when he got to the Beavers under Wayne Tinkle. Yeah. And obviously one of their assistant coaches, Kerry Rupp, is one of his bigger claims to fame is working with Andrew Bogut.
Yeah.
Kind of turning him into that defensive mastermind. So, you like to see the way Kelly can do both sides of the floor, offense and defense. And the offensive game's really starting to come to him this year.
I mean, guy runs like a deer. But despite that, the women's basketball, of course, one of the most anticipated teams in Oregon State sports at the moment, remains ranked number 7 in the country. They are 2-0 officially in matchups. Of course, other than that loss, an exciting game against Team USA last Monday, or the Monday before last. And the first 2 wins came against UC Irvine and Pacific in crushing defeats, 86-57, 69-57. Tomorrow night, though, the 14th of November, they host DePaul in a semifinal of this hosted WNIT matchup, in which they should most likely win. Shout out to Michaela Pivic, winning the Pac-12 Women's Player of the Week last week after double-double against Irvine. And Taylor Jones, how impressive is she, who won Pac-12 Freshman of the Week, scoring 20 points in her debut after an impressive effort against Team USA, showing Asia Wilson her best stuff. Big story, however, remains that they're number 7 in the country, Oregon's number 1. Who knows what really happened in that game against Team USA as they won. Sabrina Ionescu obviously is the best player in the country when she wants to be.
Yeah.
But there are some politics there on if it was staged and whatnot. I'm not buying it. We'll carry on to men's golf. The team is number 10 in the country, the highest ranking in school history. Carson Berry was named the Pac-12 Golfer of the Month in October. They're looking stellar. The women's golf team, number 21 in the country. Both teams going into long breaks after successful fall schedules. Men's soccer sits at 8-5-2, 5-2-2 in the conference, looking to hopefully get into NCAA tournament playoffs after a tie and win last week against ranked Stanford, who won 3 straight national championships back 3 years ago or so, and Cal. They play their final game of the season this Friday, the 15th, against UW at 6 p.m. Women's soccer, of course, after that scorching 8-0 start, Mackenzie Weinert was named to the Pac-12 third team, and Brianna McReynolds was named to the all-freshman Pac-12 team. They finished the season strong with a win versus Oregon 1-0 and at 11-6-2 for the season. Just got to say, shout out to Kagan and the program for getting back on track after an abysmal 2018 season, and they are looking like they're making some strides for the future.
Oh, yeah. Did you see the game-winning goal against the Ducks?
Yes.
That top left corner shot? Oh, my goodness. That was, I mean, I'm not a huge soccer follower, but when I saw that come across on my Twitter feed from Oregon State women's soccer, I was like, whoa, that's That's a tough shot to hit there, especially for the game winner. So all around OSU sports, climbing into the ranks, especially in golf. That's a nice thing to see. Men in top 10 in the country.
And volleyball team is at 9-16, 3-11 in conference. They've been up and down with some of these matchups, playing really well against some difficult opponents, as the Pac-12 is so stacked in volleyball.
Right.
They do come off 4 consecutive games against ranked opponents in which they lost, but they have their 6 games remaining. They host ASU and Zona this Friday the 15th and Sunday the 17th. So that's the round out for the sports for the week as we carry on into football and others.
Yeah, so you want to run them back to the Washington game real quick?
I can run them back there. I don't know if I want to, but I can run them back there.
Basically, I mean, as most of you saw, that Oregon State offense that was rather non-existent, the only touchdown coming from on a pick 6 from Jaden Grant, who I believe he only got out there, I think it was 22 snaps total defensively in the game. He had a PFF grade of 95.5, though. So I mean,
19-7.
Yeah. I mean, for Oregon State, you thought that this game was going to be all about the offense, and that, how are they going to match up against Oregon State's defense, and how's Oregon State's defense going to match up against Decent, and then Washington's defense, and Jake Luton. Obviously, they had Trevon Bradford back in the mix, but it's been 2 games, and you haven't seen Trevon Bradford get that heavy share of targets that we expected him to see coming into the season.
We saw him get some looks in there, made a couple plays. I remember I believe it was the 3rd quarter late on, we had scored the touchdown.
Right.
But he caught a pass. He got hit pretty quickly. It was around out. This isn't a great description. Somewhere around their own end zone. Luton caught him in like an inside slam, and he got up and he looked livid. I mean, he slammed the ball. Obviously, there's frustration on the offensive end, but I don't know if it's a chemistry thing. What's going on? He's trying to work his way back into the system in which he was possibly the favorite target last year.
Oh yeah.
Moving into Hodgins. I don't know how that's working out.
Well, I mean, it was Bradford was the clear number 2. I mean, he showed out in the Ohio State game last year, and really, just has kept developing, promising receiver from Oregon City. And so it sounds like he's going to stay on track with his plan where he's going to redshirt. So he's only going to play in 2 more games this season. So he's either going to play, the next 2, miss the Civil War in a potential bowl game, or as needed. It's also been tough because Colby Taylor's been out with injury as well, and Colby Taylor's been filling in primarily at the slot, letting Champ and Tyjon work outside across Hodgins. But for Oregon State, is this something where that Arizona State defense was really impressive to start the season? Are you worried about the Oregon State offense going into the next game?
Absolutely. I mean, this I felt like was a chance to show their toughness in a sense. I mean, Oregon State's, they weren't expected to be in this position, as we all probably know, but the offense's efficiency and like balance in every game this season, at least against not so quality opponents, unlike Utah.
Right.
That one's just a hanger we'll leave out. But it's just we kind of were hoping, or in general, fans of Oregon State were thinking this could be like break that point. Like we're in that middle spot right now. We can win this game. Look, we just beat Washington. We're legitimate. We can make a bowl game now.
And Coach Smith would get revenge on Chris Peterson.
I mean, I didn't expect them to win. I was a realistic look this last week in the prediction. I thought Peterson would understand Smith's game plan, what's going to happen. And in the past few years, it hasn't looked too favorable in Oregon State's outcomes against them, especially last time they were in Reeser. Eason's got a rocket arm. That defense is legitimate. They have some serious.
They're good.
They have some guys that are going to be playing Sundays. And my biggest thing, we didn't get to talk about this, was seeing Hodgins against legitimate corners. The only time he's seen one is Jalen Johnson from Utah. And he saw Miles Bryant and Elijah Molden, and they showed up.
Exactly. And what did you think of the onside kick?
I so confused. Walked in there. I was excited for the second half, and I saw that happen. And I was just immediately, it was like the squib little punch thing in there.
Exactly.
And kind of sat up a little bit, but what were your thoughts?
I liked it from the aggressiveness standpoint. Maybe not the execution was there. It was kind of like when you had the opportunity to do the drop kick.
Yeah.
But that was like from the 50-yard line. So if you don't get that, you're still setting them back at least like the 35.
True.
Hopefully the worst. But to do that from, a regular kickoff 35, it's almost like it's like what the Saints tried to do in the Super Bowl, come out and just hit the shocker. And, you got to love Smith's aggression. But at the same time, you also have to gauge, him, the second year as a head coach, trying to learn and get a feel for that. Like one of the ones that instantly comes to mind was the fake punt attempt in Hawaii.
Yeah.
At the start of the season, Daniel Rodriguez threw the interception on that. It was like 4th and 10, and you're thinking, okay, well, you're not completely out of this game. You could pin them deep and trust your defense. And then this is something similar. It's like, well, okay, do you not trust the defense? Are you trying to get a jump start for the offense? Like, what is the actual thought behind it? But
yeah,
I don't know. From a just purely objective standpoint, I like the call from an aggressiveness standpoint, but still, you got to be able to execute it. And of course, I'm sure if they recover the kick and that leads to the jump start of the offense, that's the a turning point in the game for them. So.
And you bring up fair points, and also the fact that fans are still getting used to him. I hate to bring up the fans' perspective all the time, but that's where we're coming from for the most part. But it's been 2 years. He's going to mess up. It's just going to happen. No coach is perfect in their play call ways because it's the pressure in those situations, especially coming off that first missed field goal by Henry Preston. Yeah. You need some momentum shift in there. That's something we were discussing the whole game. Yeah. Jaden Grant's pick was ultimately the one decisive moment of that, but
and that cut it to 12-7. I mean, the Beavers had a chance right there coming off the pick six, but it was just, also because from the fans' perspective, everybody's talking, Oregon State plays better away from home. I thought the atmosphere was pretty surprisingly positive. Obviously, Reeser wasn't filled up, but I don't even know if it would fill it for the Civil War, but
no.
I thought that the fans were energetic, engaged, and it was like it was a really fun atmosphere.
Biggest crowd certainly they've had this season. I'm not sure what the actual numbers were. I'm sure it was pushing 40,000. Just
I think
about
it was around
there.
38 or so.
38 or so, yeah. But it's just nice to have the team understand that they have the crowd behind their back. And that the game is, being played for something. Right now they're working towards the bowl game berth. So and you need to play for something. When you don't have an identity, you don't really know what you're going for. Even a funny example is playing with Jaden growing up, who had that pick six, had a story on him recently, and he's one of the major contributors to the defense this season, always mentioning before basketball games you have to have something you're playing for. Right. Otherwise, there's no purpose. It's an obvious point, but it's a sentiment to the team's aggressiveness and what their identity really is.
So we'll go ahead and switch gears. And one of the things I wanted to mention about Oregon State is that they've had several guys transfer out of the program. Most recently, today was tight end Isaiah Smalls, true sophomore from LA area. And he was one of those guys who was really big in recruiting. Same with the safety who left the program earlier this week, Jeffrey Manning Jr. Earlier in the season, it was Omar Hicks-Anu. So that's 3 guys from the secondary. And from a recruiting standpoint, Oregon State's bringing in, they've got commitments from former Colorado cornerback Alton Julian. They've got Nashawn Wright's brother, Rajon Wright, closely mixed in there. Also Ron Hartage III from, I believe, San Francisco City College. But so is this something where you're getting into year 3 and Jonathan Smith is trying to get in his guys into the program? Or are these kids that are just trying to, find playing time at a different level? It's one of those transitional points where you want to make sure, and I'm sure Jonathan Smith has plenty of trust in Coach Blue Adams, former NFL player, former NFL assistant coach. He's got the pedigree, but is this something, I personally, my take is that it's just something that's happening with the recruiting cycle, especially with the transfer portal and the uses of the transfer portal.
Are you saying, or are you thinking that maybe he's taking more of a blueprint off like Dennis Erickson? Not to always bring that example as it's often looked in the past on those glory days, but
like the JUCO route.
Yeah, because it's so unpredictable when you're getting transfer players from a JUCO level.
Yeah, and I think Smith understands how to use the transfer portal. Yeah, I think he's one of those guys and especially saw it with a former 4-star Auburn commit Charles Moore, defensive lineman. He'll be a huge help to the defense. So it kind of goes both ways. But I'm wondering if you're viewing if this is even viewed as a negative thing, or if it's just a transitional part of this culture change under year 2.
I think the problem with a lot of college football teams is there's the schools with money, the major programs, and then the ones otherwise. And I feel like a way to work your way into that, and I don't even know if it's possible still for Oregon State with how hierarchical college football is almost set up in the sense of like 4-star, 5-star schools, other schools, then JUCO schools, then pile of you know what, and then no, I'm kidding. But It's just tough to gauge nowadays because recruiting is everything.
Right.
And you hear coaches talk about it all the time and how stressful it is. And LSU, even in this last game, Orgeron is emphasizing recruits. That's all he's emphasizing. Players are going over to the student section or where they have the recruits sitting for Alabama in the game, and they're saying, this is what we do. I mean, that's all it is nowadays.
It's huge. It's huge. And one of those pieces in the transfer portal, reportedly former USC quarterback Jack Sears visited Oregon State against Washington. So that would be another.
I didn't know that.
Right. That would be another option potentially to seek through the transfer portal at quarterback. Also, former 4-star UCLA receiver Theo Howard visited, and then as well as, and we'll kind of use this as our little link, but former Arizona kicker Brandon Ruiz, who was an all-conference kicker at Arizona. He's going to graduate at the end of this year and then will be eligible to transfer for a graduate year. That would be something interesting to pursue the kicker through, because Oregon State already got Jake Scarton, a former Pennsylvania kicker. And so I'm wondering, now they've got almost 4 or 5 kickers on the staff. Schuker will graduate. So do you trust Everett Hayes as your kicker? Because that's been one of the problems going forward, or rather in the past, that's haunted Oregon State has been the kicker troubles. So that would be, a huge route that Oregon State could go would be try and get Brandon Ruiz, somebody like that. Moving on, Arizona State coming into town, led by pretty decent offense, but they've been playing defense. And obviously, when you guys got a bunch of NFL guys on the staff, Herm Edwards, former Cincinnati Bengals coaching legend Marvin Lewis, master of the
it's
8,
so funny
master of
that.
the 8-8 record. But offensively, they've got Eno Benjamin. Brandon Ayuk is broken out recently at receiver. He's had a series of big games, but it's been the true freshman, 18 years old, Jaden Daniels has been very impressive. I mean, I don't know
if threat quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know how much you've seen of Arizona State, but
he's impressive.
Yeah,
that's what I've seen.
I mean, for somebody who's so young, he possesses all the skills.
Yeah.
Sat out last week due to injury, and I believe USC, barely escaped after.
Yeah, that was a close game.
Yeah, it was a huge first quarter from Keaton Slovis, I believe, of USC, and then he cooled off, and Arizona State almost came back. But nonetheless, this team is one that's been in the AP top 25 this year. I mean,
we got to 5-1.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they had that controversial game against Michigan State where they
Michigan State, yeah.
Right. Came away with a win, but Michigan State should have been honored a re-kick as they jumped over another legendary Pac-12 officiating error. But, I mean, this is a team that's
new.
Right. This is a team that knows how to compete, and I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think it's going to be a really tough game for Oregon State.
I certainly agree with you. From what I've seen in this offense, I mentioned to you before the show, I don't know too much about this defense and what their scheme is, but offensively, I know that they throw a lot of packages at you in a sense with shotgun formations with their dual threat quarterback. They even use Ethan Long, who's been nicknamed Captain America down there, because he takes these formations in the sense that Taysom Hill from New Orleans, if you understand that, he can throw, he can come back and pass for you, or he can literally take it in the gun, come back on a screenplay or anything of those sorts, or just sneak it for you. And Oregon State struggled with that thoroughly against Utah. Certainly not the same opponent, but this defense appears to be pretty solid, holding Utah to 21 points. They beat Michigan State 10-7. Michigan State's a pretty good
that was a defensive game.
Defense. Cal's low-scoring game. Washington State, you're never going to have a low-scoring game with them. But I mean, I don't really know what to expect of Arizona State at this point, especially after 3 consecutive losses.
Right, and that's one of the parts that's huge in college football is how streaky you get. And Oregon State right now is kind of struggling to keep that momentum that they had from winning over Arizona, from beating Cal, and then it's just so hard to evaluate teams in the Pac-12 based on pedigree, because it seems like everybody's changing so much throughout the year. But also, that's one of the great things about watching Pac-12
more
football is
than any other conference.
Exactly.
I swear
I mean, top to bottom, Pac-12's got to be one of the best conferences in the Power 5, if not. I mean, it's hard to find. You go across and you even look at like the SEC, and you've got teams like South Carolina losing to Appalachian State, and Arkansas just had to fire their head
totem
coach.
pole.
Exactly.
You take your turn. Maybe a couple teams jump off and on there, but
consistently power at the top, and that's what USC is trying to do, is regain their dominance from you know, their kind of glory days down there, get back into it, and Clay Helton doesn't really know what's going on. But, of course, they couldn't have an excuse to fire him after he found a way to beat Arizona State last week, and the game was 28-24, I believe, final score, something like that.
4-point game, I know.
But Arizona State got absolutely gashed in that first quarter, and that leads me to believe, you know, what can Brian Lindgren dial up? Because I didn't...
Fast starting team here.
Right.
Oregon State, yeah.
Man, it seemed like he had the right play calls, but that they weren't executed properly. It felt like the line has struggled the past two games.
We were talking also, Matt and I, before the game, battle of the trenches in a sense. I mean, who can really win down there? We assumed Washington would win the front seven position against our offensive line, even though our offensive line has been so good this season. But again, the Pac-12 doesn't have a lot of front seven dominant squads. Their defensive lines aren't terribly strong. Washington is one of those who is consistently in and out, one of the better defensive teams. Oregon proving that, Utah right now. But when you can't control the line of scrimmage, you're not going to be able to do anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's tough for a team that, especially with the guys that Jonathan Smith went out and got, Coach Jim Mahalchek, you know, great coach at Arizona. He's got a lot of experience all over the place, and the players love to play for him. It's the best part. But for him, you know, it's the pride in how the actual players do in the performance, and that performance has been down. Of course, you look. I don't believe Gus Lavaca played hardly at all that last game, and I don't know if that was. I think it was due to an injury he had in practice. But you're counting on guys like Blake Brandel and Clay Cordasco, Brandon Kipper, who's been very penalty prone, to kind of lock it down, because Lavaca, that left guard spot, has been holding it together for so long. For Oregon State, I mean, that's like where the keys to their run game really starts. And if those guys are having a good day up front, AP and Jamar are going to benefit.
Against Arizona.
Exactly.
There were gaps in that defense, yeah.
And I don't know, did you ever happen to hear why Jamar was held out or limited in the second half? I know he went down with injury, but
no.
Basically, yeah, if having a fully healthy Jamar, having that two-headed running attack with him, Artavis Pierce.
He carried most of the load, Jefferson, in the first half against UW anyway. So
yeah, and he had a pretty good first half, and then all of a sudden it was, you know, Washington just stepped up. I don't know what Pete Carroll said at halftime, but or rather
Chris Peterson.
I'm
got a little pump up call
too much
from
Seattle
Pete Carroll.
sports there, yeah. But
Monday night looked good.
My Niners blew it.
We could talk about that on the show too.
I mean, it was a good game. They should have. I wish they would have won though.
If you had Kittle, I think it might have been a different story.
Yeah, Kittle and Emmanuel Sanders. Yeah, but we're getting a little off track. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be back with more Beaver Sports here on KBVR Corvallis.
Do you want to keep up with everything from KBVR FM? On our Twitter, at KBVR_FM, you can talk with your favorite DJ, stay up on the latest from our music blog, and let us know what you've been listening to. We care about what you have to say here at your college station, 88.7 FM, KBVR Corvallis.
Accuracy, relevancy, respect. These are the characteristics the Daily Barometer strives to achieve in its coverage every day. Since 1896, the student-run newspaper on campus has been utilizing the skills of Oregon State University students to start conversations which are open to all voices. The Barrow aims to create reciprocal relationships with communities on campus, seeking to make real change. To get involved with the Barrow, visit orangemedianetwork.com and click the Get Involved tab.
Hey, you're tuned in to KBVR FM, Oregon State's student-run, student-operated radio station.
The number one place for people with a passion for music to come and get together and share that passion with the world.
Whoa, the whole world.
The whole world.
Yeah, hopefully they're listening to something else.
Should I cancel my audition for American Idol?
You might want to think about it.
Want to learn a new medium, relax and get your craft on, or get back into art? The OSU Craft Center offers well-equipped studios and classes in ceramics, glass, woodworking, fibers, paper arts, and jewelry and metalsmithing. The OSU Craft Center offers daily drop-in activities such as watercolor and rock painting, free for OSU students. Membership is open to OSU students, faculty, staff, and the general public. Membership this year is free for OSU fee-paying students. The Craft Center is open from 1 to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday and 11 to 5 Saturday and Sunday, located in the basement of the Student Experience Center. Come learn, explore, and create in a warm and friendly environment today.
Do you want to learn how to fix your broken items? Bring them to the Fall Repair Fair on Wednesday, November 13th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the OSU's store. Volunteers will help you learn how to repair your belongings. Attend demos to learn more about repairing things like appliances, electronics, housewares, clothing, computers, and bicycles. Drop-in demos will also be offered each hour. Repair fairs are sponsored by the OSU Waste Watchers, helping you save money, gain skills, and reduce waste.
Do you like art? How about photography, poetry, or storytelling? Well, Prism has a place for you. Prism is the arts and literary journal here at OSU, and we are always accepting student submissions for art from people of all interests, backgrounds, and majors. Find the entry form on our blog, orangemedianetwork.com/prism, or reach out to us at prism@oregonstate.edu, or find us on social media at OSU Prism. See you soon.
Welcome back into the Beaver Sports Radio Show. Mitchell Monge alongside my partner, Soren Carr, and we're going to go ahead and transition a little bit into basketball. But before that, you wanted to get a football prediction?
I would love to have your prediction, Mitch, for the matchup against Arizona State this Saturday at Research Stadium.
Let's see. I'm going to be calling that game, so it's probably not going to be a win. Seems like that
your luck
sounds
just
to
doesn't
happen.
seem to pan out.
No. I'm going to go with Arizona State. I'm going to go 35-28.
That's pretty close. I picked Arizona State 34-24. I think they're going to run away with it towards the fourth quarter.
Well, I think Oregon State's got a shot.
They do.
There's no doubt about it.
I think we might be looking down on them again like we did against Utah.
Yeah,
kind of in that,
yeah, I could see them having a big bounce back, but, I think they tend to win when I pick against them, when I pick for them, that they try to,
I wish I could say the same.
Anyways, we'll transition a little bit into basketball. Yesterday, from the PK 80 in the Moda Center, Oklahoma went to 3-0, knocking off the Beavers. Final score was 77-69. First half was a lot closer, and then Oklahoma kind of pulled away, and then the Beavers came reeling at the last seconds. But, just what are your thoughts, I guess, from that game? It was one of those ones where the first half it's like, okay, the Beavers are in control. Okay, they disappeared. Oh wait, they're back. Okay, they're gone again. And Alfred Hollins had 12 big points in the first half, and then just kind of went silent. He was off the radar. So I was just kind of thinking, I don't know what your thoughts were from that initial game.
There's something about this team. I think that they're fundamentally really balanced.
Yeah.
They have a pretty balanced attack too, and I think clearly when he's on the best point in the Pac-12, at least in experience top to bottom, in Trace Tinkle, but there's something, it's like there's a cap on the rim whenever I watch them play. I went to 4 games last year, watched them. Washington, they were just overmatched in every way. I think Washington's a potential Elite Eight team.
Yeah,
maybe better.
They were talking about Washington being a Final Four on the TV broadcast.
I seriously think that they're strong. It was nice to have the publicity standpoint for them. Jay Billis talking about Oregon State, interviewing the Tinkles. And it's just nice to see them on that stage that they're kind of maybe muted from at times just because of their position. But still, I believe that this is a Pac-12 or a NCAA tournament potential team. The Pac-12 right now is the best it's been in about 4 seasons,
no doubt,
top to bottom.
No doubt.
4 teams ranked right now: Colorado, Washington, Arizona, Oregon. And I just thought it was a great experience for Oregon to have that platform to kind of base the rest of their season off after 2 back-to-back Big 12 opponents in Iowa State and Oklahoma.
Washington's one of those teams that's going to surprise a lot of people, I think. I think, because, I watched the broadcast on ESPN as well yesterday for the Beaver game.
Yeah.
And I think it was Jay Billis who was like, Washington could be a Final Four team. And it's just impressive to see like that kind of basketball respect starting to trend towards
they have
the
a
Pac-12.
really good coach. Washington.
Oh yeah, exactly. And straight from the Boeheim coaching tree at Syracuse, Mike Hopkins doing a great job for the Washington Huskies. It seems like in all their sports, football with Chris Peterson getting him from Boise State and then going and getting Mike Hopkins from Syracuse, they're going to go to programs that have had success and hire coaches that have,
seem like obvious hires, but
yeah, exactly. Well, Hopkins have been at Syracuse for 20-something years. Everybody
Boeheim,
thought he was going to be the coach in waiting for Boeheim. But
it is funny if you look at that. And
yeah.
What did you think about Oregon State last night?
It's clear that they need Trace to be on to be really good.
Yeah.
And Tinkle, of course, he, padded the stat sheet kind of late, ended up with 18 points, 10 boards, 5 rebounds, 5 assists.
Tell me about Ethan. What do you think about Ethan?
He's struggling to get his shot going. He took 17 shots, 17 points. That's, not great from what you're getting on the guy who's getting the second most amount of minutes on the team. Because, Tinkle got 37 minutes last night. Ethan Thompson got 34, and Thompson is really just an out-of-position shooting guard trying to work the one. I don't think he's got tight enough handles to be a true point guard, and yet he doesn't seem to have the confidence in shooting to play or the, feel to play off the ball. And it's like, this guy was a 5-star Mr. California just 3 years ago. Where did it go? What happened? Was he actually not that great and was just kind of overestimated? I mean, I've seen the kid play. I know he can get buckets. It's just, I think it's a confidence thing.
Do you think I felt the same way about Reichel last year. Just being hesitant in shots that they could take. And Hollins, I think, has never been shy about that.
Right.
You can tell by his field goal percentages. But I love his hustle and everything. But it is true. I don't know if it's a coaching thing or just like a mental block. But when they're confident, obviously they're going to do better. But when they get the ball, sometimes it just seems like there's one too many thoughts in their head.
It seems like Wayne runs a lot of sets that don't require a true point guard.
Yeah.
And the way he does that is he'll have Reichel or Thompson, who are both shooting guards, kind of handle the ball because he wants to get the best 5 guys on the court. And I think that because they've got Antoine Vernon, they've got Gianni Hunt. Those two are 2 true point guards that when they have the ball in their hands, better stuff seems to happen, but they still don't have like the elite guy who will, go break through the zone as a point guard and try to, attack the rim.
Jared Lucas driving on one of those early.
He got stuffed too.
Stuffed, yeah.
But I think that, when Trace does it, Trace is always driving, seems to look for a foul. Ethan as well. I think a lot of those guys you got to attack with the, hey, I'm going to out muscle you and get to the basket. So
there is some. They do appear to be a tough team to me for some reason. Maybe it's just Tinkle's demeanor in Wayne more so, but and Kelly. But it's not that they're not strong just physically, but it does. I see what you mean there in their driving abilities. It's not like they're bringing a lot of contact into forcing the issue, then hoping the defense forces the issue.
Right.
And hoping that they cause that foul.
And then they run the double screens high. And they're trying to get and then they'll run the triangle at sometimes. But when they're trying to get, rotations, they're trying to get guys who are shooters open. They're trying to get Ethan, Zach open on the wing so that when they swing the ball around, you'll have, obviously you'll have your mismatch on one side of the zone. One guy should be left open. But they're not taking those shots. When you get it to Reichel will hesitate for a second. Or Thompson will get the ball and, jab step and give his defender time to close. It's like, no, you got to get it, catch it, shoot. And I think that part of it has to do with the confidence in the offense, and the other part of it has to do with just the guys running the offense. Because a lot of the times they'll say, "Here's Trace, here's the ball, go get us a bucket."
And no disrespect to Oklahoma, because their defense actually looked good last night.
Lon Kruger's a very good head coach.
Agreed. I didn't realize how many teams he had coached to before in the broadcast. I was hearing about that.
Right? Yeah, he's. And the interesting part was, did you hear about how he has completely open practices?
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty neat. But he's done a great job at Oklahoma. Got him into the tournament, I think, 7 of the last 8 years. Yep.
Final Four.
Trae Young.
Killed Oregon in that Elite Eight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, the Sooners are not a bad team by any means.
No.
And